3, the third chapter. This is the matter of breaking bread, which our rabbis, our sages of blessed memory, specified. Harbe, they were very particular. How to break the bread. The Kol Tamid, and they always called Hamavarech, he who makes the blessing on the bread, Hamotzi, B'Shem Botzea, as the breaker. V'chol Dinei Birchas Hamotzi Kolu Al Shem Botzea. And all the laws of the making the blessing on the bread, they generalized under the name of the breaker of the bread. The Gambal HaMachaber Shulchan Aruch, also the author of the Code of Law, the Jewish Code of Law, Kara Halachos Zos, he also titled these laws, Shemedaberes Midine Birchas Hamotzi, which discusses the laws of making the blessing on the bread. Kara Akol B'Shem Hilchas B'tzias Hapas. He called all these laws the laws of breaking bread. V'chein B'Zohar, and also we find in the Zohar, U'B'Gemar, and in the Talmud, in Midrashim, in the Medrash, in the places where they talk about the rectification of eating, they all refer to the blessing on the bread as breaking of bread. Move on umavor, it is understand and explain. Sheish sodos atzumos, they are awesome secrets me'inin habitzua shel hapas, in the matter of breaking the bread. Kib'em is called over Shabbolam, because in truth, everything in the world, tzarich lizbarer bebeirur acher beirur ad sheyavo l'tachlis shleimuso, needs to undergo a clarification, selection after selection, until it comes to the epitome of completion. As we see this, especially in the matter of eating, that the food is drawn through many different clarifications and selections. Because in the beginning, it's necessary to plow and to sow, and afterwards to reap, to harvest the produce, and then afterwards to make the selection of the grain of the wheat from the husks, and afterwards to grind the wheat, the kernels, and to further clarify them and select them from the residue of the flax that are with them, the bad stuff. Because since the main falling of all the sparks of holiness were brought about through the sin of eating, through Adam eating from the tree of knowledge, good and bad. Al Kain, therefore, Sham Tzrichim Beiruim Harbe Biyoseh. Therefore, when it comes to eating, it is necessary to have all these extra, the most clarifications and selections. Shezeu Inyan Kol Yegios. This is the matter of all the Yegios is you have to work hard. It's necessary to work hard, to really work hard, with the produce, until you get to bread. This is an aspect of the curse that Adam brought upon himself by eating from the tree of knowledge, that God cursed him that through the sweat of your brow you will eat bread. So all this work in order to produce the bread. And it's all in order to clarify and to select the holy sparks. Shenaflu, which fell, and got very mixed up in there. Through the blemish to the corruption of the eating of the tree of knowledge. V'ikar be'er anitzotzos, and the main clarification of the holy sparks, hu levaram ulavshitam mehabegadim hatzolim shenislabshu bohem. It's to clarify them and to remove from them the garments of feces that they have dressed themselves in. She'az heim bevchinas palga, because then they are in the aspect of half. This is a term that was used in the teaching of Rabbi Nachman that he's basing this lesson on. They're called half. Dainu chisor nashlemus, kemuvan sham b'Torah now. So it's half. It's a lacking of completion, as it's explained in that teaching. Amayim Rabba Bar Barchana ubeimar bata dereisha parsu palga roma kufsa v'sachol yardana shemvur sham. So there, Rabbi Nachman is explaining that teaching a maimer, a saying from the sage Rabba Bar Barchana, and it's a very interesting maimer, very interesting saying. But part of what he says, what Rabbi Nachman is explaining there, is you have this animal, this huge animal that's in the Yarden, in the Jordan, I think, if I remember correctly. And so in this saying from Rabbi Bar Chana, it describes how huge this animal is. And it says there that its head is a parso palga. The resting of its head, I think, is a parsa, which is like a mile, I guess, and a half. And it's Rama kufsa v'sachli yadna. It goes to the bathroom and it has so much feces that it stops up the Jordan. So Rabbi Nachman explains there that there's two aspects. There's the parsa, the full mile, and there's the palga, the incomplete. So the incomplete, Rabbi Natan is saying over here, is this aspect when the holy sparks are dressed in the garments of feces, the aspect of the feces that this animal is lets out. Shemvur Sham, that it's explained in the teaching of Rabbi Nachman there, Shaneshamos vanitzotzos shirochokim adayim ektusha hemuchunim b'shem palga, that the souls and the holy sparks that are still very distant from holiness, they are referred to as half. Because they are still very, very distant from the holiness. And it is possible that they'll have tremendous obstacles, preventions from getting to the holiness. They have to have great travai in order that they should remove the garments of feces that they have dressed themselves in. Kimosha Kasuv, as it says in scriptures, Hasiu habgadim atzoim, remove the garments of feces. Ki'elu habgadim atzoim, because these garments of feces, hemonim osam milachzor lakadosh baruch hu, they are preventing them from returning to the Holy Blessed One. They mafsikim, and they are dividing, they're preventing kimonar hamafsik, like a river that splits, that divides. She'ef shalaloch derech also anor, because it's impossible to go past that river. V'tzorach lahashlich habgadim atzoim, and it's necessary to throw off the garments of feces. V'zeh rama kufsa v'sachli yardana, and that's what it says in that saying from Rabba Bar Barchana that Rabbi Nachman is explaining there, that this animal let out the feces and it stopped the Jordan. So by getting rid of these garments of feces, nispatlim kol hamnios, so that nullifies all the preventions, the obstacles v'amesachim, and the dividers, hamavdilim, which divide beinam lebein hakdusha, between them and the holiness. V'zeh v'sach le'yadena. That's it seals the Jordan. So this animal is let out the feces. That means it's an allegory that it got rid of the garments of feces that it was dressed in, attached in, and by doing that, the Jordan was dammed, meaning that now one could cross it. There's like a bridge. Because the Jordan divides between the holiness of Israel and the outside of Israel. And because of this, these souls that are still trapped in the garments of feces, they're called half. Because they still have to throw off from them the garments of feces. In order to remove from themselves all the dividers and obstacles and blockages that are dividing them from the holiness. That's the language of Rabbi Nachman in the teaching. Ein Sham Bator, and I'll see that whole teaching. Nimsa, so it comes out, Shekol HaNitzotzos v'Neshamos Shenaflu Kodem Aliyasan Ubeiruan, that all the holy sparks and souls that fell before they are elevated and they're selected, Hem Bevchinas Palga, they are an aspect of half. Because they have to throw from themselves the garments of feces, which are the aspect of the grasp of the husks of the other side, of the evil side that has on them. Shenaflu beineim, that these souls fell into these bad places. Va'al kain, therefore, ikar shleimus aliyasan, the main completion of their elevation, kishenishlam ayira ayadam kanal, is when the fear is completed through them. By bringing them up, that elevates the honor of God, that elevates their sparks of their souls, this honor, and we elevate it. That brings it we elevate it to the fear, so that helps complete the fear. So that completes their state. They were in a state of half. That completes them. Because then they are elevated from the aspect of half to the aspect of completion. Shuayira, which is fear. Shesham Ika Ashlemus, because by fear that's where the main completion is. Hepach Bechinas Palganal, the opposite of the aspect of being half, as we saw. V'havin, understand this. V'ika Aliyasan Bechinas Chisaron, and the main elevation is from the aspect of lacking. Bechinas Palga, from the aspect of being half. Hu kevi Mashem Efshitim Ashlichim Mehem Abgadim Atzoim Kanal. Their elevation is going to be according to how well they are able to get rid of and throw off their garments of feces, so too they will merit to be elevated properly and reach completion. To be continued. Nanach Nachman Nachman Yumin.